What was the YouTube video you wanted me to check out? Some video about Forza Horizon 5 is not a 10 out of 10. Agreed. Moving on. Okay, let's watch this. Shoutouts to Whitelight. I'm pretty sure I watched a video of him before. I don't remember what it was though. If you guys remember, let me know. But I remember we watched Whitelight in the past. Alright, Forza Horizon 5 is not a 10 out of 10.
Freedom and physics refined for a decade that simulate the act of driving in meticulous detail and yet make it impossibly effortless to feel like a badass. In a driving game, that is the most important thing, so...
Thanks! Because that's something I really regard the Horizon series as well for, that they figured out the handling to a point where it's really fun and it feels easy to pull off, right? Like it doesn't try to punish you for every single mistake that you do, but the driving is actually fun. You know, it reminds me a lot of Most Wanted in that regard.
Being in first place is nice, but it isn't
Dude, why is this a thing? Like, do you really need an indicator to show you where the ground is? Especially, that makes the entire yellow thing completely pointless, because obviously you are parallel to the track you're racing on. And I know you can disable it, but first of all, it's placed horrendously stupid, and it's extremely unnecessary too. Like, this entire thing could have been here, or here, or here, or here, or here. Like, just not right in the middle of the screen. It's so stupid.
A well-executed slam will always outperform a smoothly taken corner. There's the added bonus of obliterating your victim too.
I'm actually okay with cutting corners because it just adds more ability of yours. You know, you can choose how you take that corner, and you know it's going to be faster if you cut the corner like this. You know, it just makes the track wider and just gives you more possibilities how you can drive the track. So I like the cutting of the flags, really, of the checkpoints.
Things like the occasional privilege of enemies wading through water, similar entry, similar clearance.
That annoys me in every game though, when an opponent's car can do something that it shouldn't be capable of. You know, like accelerating faster than its maximum acceleration, going above its maximum top speed. Like, AI should never be able to do this. Like, the only way for an AI to get away from you or catch up to you is by taking better racing lines. Everything outside of that window just annoys the hell out of me.
According to conventional wisdom, the red zones indicate a need to bleed some of your speed in order to make an upcoming turn without flying off. But in Horizon, that's not always the case. Sometimes you can easily take the racing line's red zones.
I think those are hard to predict
It's
though.
just obvious that the thing about cross-country is the tracks have a lot of bumps, which means a lot of airtime, even in tiny amounts. And airtime magnifies minor distortions in your car's momentum into much bigger problems.
Dude, I gotta say I like cross-country though. Like, it gets me my rally fix. Like, I'm pretty used to, like, the road being bumpy and you have to react to the tiniest bump on the road. And honestly, I think the physics makes sense the way it looks most of the time. And I'm actually a big fan of cross-country in Forza.
It's especially irritating when said checkpoint is obscured from view.
Okay, one thing I'm gonna say. When you are in the S2 speed class, it is super easy to have a jump where you're gonna jump over or even through the checkpoint. And if you don't know that the checkpoint is exactly here, and you jump in this direction, like you jump here, you're not gonna jump even close to the checkpoint, you're gonna jump past it. And if that happens online, obviously you're gonna be totally boned. But this is actually pretty common in S2, that the tracks are just not designed for you to have S2 speed. Even S1 is pushing it very often. Like, in tracks where you shouldn't have such fast cars, it should just be forbidden. You know, you shouldn't be able to enter these events with fast cars if they're just not made for it. There's tracks where you jump through this checkpoint and you're gonna land barely before the next one.
Come lower than first multiple times in a row, you will be asked whether you'd like to lower the difficulty. The message...
Well, at the same time, when you win all the time, it asks you to increase the difficulty. There's a lot of whining going on. I agree. He has a lot of valid points, but also a bit of unnecessary whining to, I assume, to make the video a little bit longer and just cover everything. I mean, generally the idea of the video is good because Horizon 5 and I think Playground Games got a bit complacent where they know that they're the top dog and everyone else has to catch up, but they could push the envelope even further. Like, they could do better. They are in a position where they could do better, right? They have the necessary funding, time to make the games. Like, they could do better.
And what's consistent across showcases number 27 to 30 is that there is no attempt whatsoever to obfuscate the formula or to in any way break its predictability. They're not getting inventive with the routes or the pace with which you trade positions.
Yeah, there's just a lot of copy and pasting going on. Like, I generally like those type of events, but they are very samey every single time. You just drive against a different vehicle. And like that wow factor that you might have had in Horizon 1, maybe even 2 and 3, like it's long gone, really.
What's left then is for us to look at the events contained within Horizon 5's narrative-driven micro-campaigns. You're given a cool car and...
Oh, dude, I hated... I mean, I still do. Most of these campaigns are so heavily repetitive and so boring. I don't listen to these people anymore. Like, they talk so much bullshit all day. You don't care about any of those people. You just do them to get the reward and be done with it. It reminds me of doing those repetitive quests in World of Warcraft, where you click through the entire dialogue and you just do whatever you need to do to get the reward and then move on to the next thing.
And then there are the events that let you cheat, that tell you to cheat, that aren't balanced for cheating. Under the assumption that ignore Anna in the final test driver race meant ignore Anna, I elected to ignore Anna. And surprisingly enough, I won. By a lot. But Horizon's loony bin balancing is not exclusive to the routes. The difficulty of the 3-star boundary is
Dude, I think this is happening because there's just so many different people working on it. Like, this is not all made by the same 3 people, in my opinion. It's probably made by, I don't know, 20 different people. And they all have, like, certain guidelines they have to work with. And everything else just happens. And then, you know, if it works, it gets accepted, they move on.
You let loose after an event, you drive off, and then Haley says, "It's time to unlock a new adventure." And you'll be forcibly grinded to a halt until you've chosen, and you have to listen to all her dialogue, and it's just the most infuriating thing.
I gotta say, this did not bother me, funnily enough. Like, I on my first playthrough, that never came to my mind. It's interesting. Like, I didn't experience it this way.
Who doesn't like a little gamble? The problem is that they're the primary driver of progression. What's consistent is that a lucky few wheel spins will get you more credits than you've earned from every race.
Yeah, honestly, screw them for including these 2,000 credit, 1,000 credit spins. Like, they actually nerfed it. Like, I was lucky enough that I played the game from the very beginning, so I got most of my money and cars early on. But then later on, they nerfed the progression and slowed it down by introducing a bunch of low level credit rewards. That was so bullshit. Like, I so disagree with making the game even more grindy.
In a modest arc of meaningful progress, the needless extremes of Horizon's generosity, the Senna, the Centenario, the best cars in the game by chance, inexorably and severely damages the psychological motive to go on, and the psychological desire for purpose.
It actually took me all the way until the end of Season 3 to have all the cars. That was the first time I had all the cars. I got every single car that I was missing through a wheel spin, like, because there are cars that are exclusive to wheel spins. And at the end of Season 3, that was the first time you actually had the chance to unlock all of the cars that you only get as seasonal rewards. And it nearly took 3 months of me playing the game as a streamer to get all of them, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people did what I did. Like, I mean, I stopped playing Horizon 5 entirely. I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, nobody cares anymore about Horizon 5 at that point. So I just stopped. But until that point, like the first 3 months, I was grinding this game on a nearly daily basis.
The characters can only express excitement, which makes them completely flat and almost indistinguishable from one another. To maintain Horizon's absolute...
Yeah, honestly, do you remember any of the characters? Like, talking the last 5 Horizon games, right? Like, any of these characters left an impression. Do I remember that someone had an amputated arm? Like, not even that feature is something that stuck to my mind, right? Like, they tried to make them as bland as possible. It's just horrible. Horrible character design.
No anticipation is built, and despite the consistent lack of a point, you can't skip it. I'd take Need for Speed 2015 over Horizon, in a heartbeat, because its only sin was not being good, and Horizon is so much worse than that.
You know how much I hate 2015? And he's right. He's fucking right, man. 2015 does have a way more appealing story than Horizon ever did.
Gone are festival locations that bear the slightest resemblance to somewhere human beings may actually have fun or want to spend time. Gone is the impression that there are other important drivers competing at the festival besides you. Gone is the...
That, dude. That. Like, I want some rivals, you know? I don't want to be the only guy that is known, right? Like it's a part. It's like a bit of a blacklist, you know, kind of like Most Wanted. You had like all of these bosses that you had to beat to actually become the most relevant person at the festival, right? And that's something that was missing even in Horizon 2 and onwards. Like just having bosses to run against, like so important for a game, in my opinion. Especially when you want to have a feeling of progression.
The map design is another problem. It's the largest yet. It's the most detailed. It's objectively the most varied, with rainforest, desert, fields, beaches, a canyon, a city, and a volcano. But
you know what a really bad side effect is of the big world map? The Eliminator does not work anymore. Because they just copy and pasted the Eliminator multiplayer game mode into this game. It doesn't work as well anymore. Most of the time, you are not gonna find a car and you're not gonna be able to find enough opponents to even upgrade. That's like the bigger issue. You're not gonna find enough opponents to upgrade your car to the highest level. So if someone finds a high level car, they will win because they... Like, if everyone doesn't have the chance to race someone, then it's just gonna end up that the guy that got lucky and got the best car is gonna win. Like, the big map ruined the Eliminator completely. Like, it works so much better in Horizon 4. That was a great video. I agree with, honestly, most of his points. I mean, my highlight of this entire game was still the Hot Wheels DLC. Because, as he said, you know, Mexico was pretty boring. And this really shook it up, and you know, the Hot Wheels DLC was my favorite in Horizon 3 as well, so I was actually very happy that it came back. So I want Horizon to be more like Horizon 1 again, especially with the progression, with the bosses, you know, that you're not the only one on the entire world map that is relevant, and you actually have to beat someone. And just generally, like this, your character is such a goofy idiot that is just so far away from real life that, you know, it's just completely unrelatable. And, you know, in Horizon 1 you still had this, you know, festival feeling, and even in Horizon 2 it was still a little bit there, but it was already decreasing, and then starting with 3 it was like completely gone for me. 4 on the other hand had at least an interesting world map and new game modes. Like 5 just felt like a, you know, a bad copy of 4. That was really my take on it. Oh yeah, the thing is, yeah, I mean, he mentioned it in the video anyways, like it's just positive everywhere, and there's no friction, there's no one to beat, there's no one to strive for, you know, and it's just bland. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out as always. Time to call it a stream. Definitely do come back tomorrow for more, and good night.